I would like to welcome everybody to August Lunch Bite session. My name is Amanda Steinball, and I am the facilitator for Lunch Bites. I do want to remind everybody the purpose of our training sessions is for the faculty and staff of Neosho County Community College to receive training that will enhance our ability to reach our students more effectively. As you heard me say, Lunch Bites is recorded. I just want to let you know for future references. So most of the time during the presentation, you will be muted. But I do ask that if you have a question, you use the chat channel to go ahead and type that out. And if it deems appropriate, we can interrupt the presentation at that time. If not, possibly may get an answer through there. In addition to using that as that back channel chat, we like to use that for attendance also. So if you have not already, could you please type your first and last name for me? If you cannot find the chat feature, if you migrate your mouse to the bottom of your Zoom screen that is on your computer, a gray bar will pop up, and one of the options on there is chat. So you can click that, and then you'll have the option to chat on the right-hand side of your screen. I'll give everybody just a few moments to do that. All right. Well, for the reason that we are all here today, this month's training session is called EarlyBird InsideNC Updates and Assessment Review, and we have 3 presenters this month. If you guys would like to say hi so we could recognize who is associated with these names, that would be great. We have Dr. Sarah Robb, the VP for Student Learning.
Hello.
We have Dr. Marie Gardner, the Dean of both online and Ottawa campuses.
Hi, everyone.
And then we have Nathan Stanley, our mathematics instructor and also the assessment coordinator for the college.
Hello.
Thanks, guys. All right, I'm going to turn it over to them, and I'm very excited about your presentation, guys, and thank you very much for agreeing to share your wisdom with us.
Okay, well, we're going to start today with the InsideNC updates, and then Sarah, Nathan, and I will all kind of tag team on the overview of the assessment system. A little more specifically, our topics for today include some requirements for how you configure your syllabus and syllabus supplement page on InsideNC, as well as a new attendance requirement that we want to cover today. And then for the InsideNC portion, it's actually very brief because we are on the same version of InsideNC that we used for the spring semester. So we do have one known issue I want to talk about a little bit in detail today, and then just give some very brief reminders of things that we talked about in January. And the rest of the time we're reserving for the assessment system. So for the syllabus requirement, if you have taught for us before, there are no changes. In every section, please upload your master syllabus as well as your syllabus supplement. This is a copy of our template for the syllabus supplement with some suggested areas that you discuss. You don't have to have all of those areas on your syllabus supplement. You may have others. These are just our suggestions in the template. When you have your page configured on InsideNC, it should look similar to this, with a visual picture of the course syllabus and the syllabus supplement, as well as the 2 links to download the PDFs to the student's own computer. There are 3 steps. These are the same. You first must have a PDF of your files. You upload them to the downloadable versions portlet, you copy the link, and then you use the settings to configure the course syllabus or the syllabus supplement portlet area on InsideNC. You have to go through that twice, one for each document. This is a picture of the settings with the 3 areas that you can adjust, circled in orange. Again, this process has been the same for about 2 years now, so should be familiar to most of us on the call. If you have questions with that or with anything that I'm talking about today, please email me or online@neosho.edu, and we'll be glad to assist you with that. The attendance requirements are slightly new this year. Many of our instructors have used the attendance portlet in the past, but now we are asking every instructor to record attendance for every section using the InsideNC attendance page, and to do that through certification date for every class that they teach. We also need for that attendance to be recorded every class session. Sarah, would you like to talk a little bit more about that before I show the settings on that?
Yes, thank you very much, Marie. I think you may have to turn your volume down, perhaps, if there's... Okay, very good. Thank you for attending today. I would just like to say one of the reasons we're asking for the attendance requirement, if you are unfamiliar with the reasons, is we have had some issues in the past with regard to consistency with our state reporting. We have to report to the state the enrollment of all of our classes per the certification date of that course, and you may not or may not be aware of, we have different certification dates depending upon how long your course is. But for our formal state reporting to occur and occur without error, we need this certification information to be accurate. And we're hoping that by functionally working through attendance every day, we will know for certain if a student is actually enrolled in the class or is not in the class. So this is a step towards improving our documentation of students in the courses, and therefore improve our state reporting, minimizing the errors that we have to go back and correct after the fact. So hopefully this is a good step in the right direction. A lot of our faculty that we gained feedback from suggested that they are already using this portal and this tool available to them. So hopefully there won't be too many problems with it, but if you have any questions or problems, don't hesitate to contact me.
How will that work for online?
There was a question that was just raised. I'm sorry I didn't hear it because I have my volume down, so please repeat. I think Richard may have talked.
Yes, how will that be done online?
Did you say how will that be done online?
For online courses, yes.
Okay, that's an excellent question. We will not be requiring the online courses to record attendance. This, I should have said that, I apologize. This is for face-to-face classes and hybrid classes for their face-to-face sessions. For an online course, it would be kind of different per course, and so we're not requiring at this time that attendance recording. I apologize for not stating that clearly before.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I will have to fix my slide because I forgot to put the exclusion for online on this slide. So good question, Richard. With the online classes, we have other ways to get the information that we need through InsideNC. So the next page simply shows you, if you haven't used attendance on InsideNC, it is very easy. First of all of your face-to-face sessions will be available for you. You do not have to code those. And then all of your students will be listed. So this is looking at attendance for August 21st. There are 5 students in the class. The system assumes that students are coming to class, so it assumes that they are present. So if all 5 students were in attendance, all the instructor would need to do would be to save that record. If someone was absent or tardy, you would then click the drop down and then select either absent excused, absent unexcused, or tardy, and click save and then you just do that on each student that was absent. Normally, it's a very quick process. I know a lot of instructors actually are logged in the classroom and record it in the first couple minutes of class. So that is a new policy for this year as we're going forward. In terms of InsideNC, again, we are on the same version of InsideNC as we used for spring and summer. There is one issue that I want to make sure all instructors are aware of, particularly online instructors. If you have created a basic assignment and you have coded it to be not graded, regardless of the due date, it appears to students that it is already complete. It is checkmarked and it is grayed out. So it's very misleading from the instructor view This basic not graded assignment looks like it is an active assignment that's due in December, and that no one in the class has completed it. What the students see for that same assignment is what they normally see when they have already completed an assignment. So it looks to them as though it's done and they've completed everything there. I do want to note, first of all, that the link, even though it doesn't look like an active link, it is still an active link, and the student can click on the assignment to read your instructions. But this is of great importance to instructors who have a lot of readings that they don't typically grade or other types of assignments. So I do have a couple workarounds. The first one being to tell your students, yes, you still need to click on the link, and you can read the information. If there's a video, they can still watch the video. But maybe a better solution would be for the instructor to consider coding that assignment as graded, or even credit, no credit, along with not included in the final grade. So it wouldn't be a weight-bearing assignment in the grade, but it would then appear to the students that they still have something to do on that assignment. And I'll be glad to talk with anyone a little more about that if you have questions about your application of that. This is a good time to take a look at the coursework terminology associated with that. You see this table at the bottom with the old language and the new language. So that not included in the final grade is over here in this drop down. Normally we include things in the final grade, but there is a not included in your final grade category. Some instructors have started using that a little more. So I'm going to pause. Amanda, have there been any questions pop up that we want to address before we go on?
Yes, Sandy asked, how does that work with pre and post testing? I'm assuming she's talking about the graded and not graded.
If you are talking about a pre-test that you give paper and pencil and then come back to InsideNC and record grades, it should be fine. So I know a lot of times instructors don't use the pre-test in particular as part of their final grade. You could still continue to do the basic not graded assignment, because in that instance, they're in your classroom and you're giving them a pencil and paper test. It's more problematic if you are wanting the student to do something outside of class, so in a hybrid or an online scenario. Let me know if I misunderstood that though, Sandy.
Okay, and then I'm gonna have you backtrack just for a second. Do you guys happen to know the cert date for fall off the top of your head?
It will be different for every class. So it will be one date for full semester, a different date for 12-week, first date, mid-date, last date. And then we also have a number of classes that run kind of at their own schedule, different times. So supervisors can provide cert dates.
Okay, and can you remind us who, because there is an email that's sent out every semester reminding us of cert dates, and who should we be looking to receive that from?
That information for the majority of classes that fit into one of those main time lengths, like the first date or the last date or the 12-week or the full semester, is on the academic calendar that Carrie, I'm sorry, not the academic calendar, the enrollment management calendar that Carrie Coombs sends. And the enrollment management calendar should also be uploaded to InsideNC.
Perfect. And then I had a personal question too on the attendance. Since I do dual credit courses taught at the high school, should I also do attendance on InsideNC and through our Power School program, or does that not count for you guys either?
I'm going to give that one to Sarah, but I believe that we determined that the concurrent instructors should also record attendance on InsideNC, but I'm going to ask Sarah to confirm that.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Yes, the importance of the attendance information in the InsideNC system is due to the fact that we can query off that. So I will be asking all of our instructors offering face-to-face classes to be recording attendance in InsideNC, along with our standard put an updated grade at least once a week in the grade book for InsideNC. we would prefer if the attendance information would be per session. So that I would need that to happen in InsideNC for us to be able to query off of it.
Perfect, thank you. And I believe that is the end of the questions right now, Marie.
Okay, the rest of these slides are simply the enhancements that were new again last spring. I've pared those down to hit upon the ones that are the most important. First of all, remember now that in your detailed history, if you've given an online assignment through the test builder, it's going to give you more information about what the student is doing, particularly if they've launched an exam multiple times. And also remember that you can now see the IP address that the student is using when you go to the usage statistics and view the full report. There are new dates associated with new ways for instructors to control when students see certain information in their classes. The one that's been the most popular thus far is the turn on this section at a specific date and time. So you can see in the screenshot, you can hide everything about the class from students before this is set to January 17th because that was the start of the spring semester. Primarily, this is ideal for anyone who does a course copy because you do a course copy and then you make revisions. You have to revise dates, you have to upload the new syllabus supplement, that you may be making changes to other policies or assignments in the class, and so you can control that the students aren't seeing the old information. This is done through Context Manager, and to the students, it shows a message that the course will be available at a certain date and time, and directs them to their faculty member. Also popular with some of our instructors, if you have a page in your course that's really associated with only one unit, you can set that to show to students only when they can see that particular unit. So for example, if you have a page with videos that you've created on a certain topic associated with Unit 1, that page might display for the students only when they can see Unit 1, keeping the class. Sometimes if you have those videos, you may have 10 pages of videos, and we want to focus the students to the material that they need at the particular time in the class. And then the third one associated with content, there's information on the coursework, the gradebook, the overview, and the resources pages that can also be linked to specific units. So you have a control within the unit itself to only show that information when they can see assignments from the unit. So that is a third setting that is new. And then in terms of other enhancements, remember we now have selective release where you can configure a specific rule to show the next assignment or a specific assignment based upon a date and time, which is normal to what we've been used to, or when a student completes another assignment, or based upon the student's performance on another assignment. So you might want to use this with maybe some remedial assignments that would only show to students that maybe didn't understand a concept as well as they could have. Or maybe it's on the other end, you want to give them an enrichment assignment if they excelled on another assignment. Those are some ideas on ways you could utilize this setting. You can also establish multiple rules for a specific assignment. And then the other major change that we had was the audience. So you can now select a specific student, a group of students by their role in your class, or the entire class to see an assignment. And then there's 4 settings associated with test builder online assignments. You can force the student to move forward through the pages of a test builder assignment. You can hide all responses from students during a test review. You can display only the questions that students missed something on, so they don't see the ones that they got correct. Or the other one, you can code the date and time that review of these assignments begins as well as ends. And I think that's it until we get to assessment. So I think it's a good time to pause and see if there's any questions for anything that I talked about on that.
Marie, there is one question from Dawn, and she says, if you have a lecture, can you have this shown for a period of time, such as your midterm? So could you possibly touch on the period of time that you can make things available for students?
Donna, I need a little bit more information about where you've housed that lecture. If you're talking about a video perhaps that you've recorded on InsideNC.
Yeah, what I do is I do a PowerPoint for each unit. And one of the things the students were asking is, should I keep that PowerPoint lecture up until they get to their midterm? Because I do unit 1 through 6, and then I do a midterm, and they would like to review that. And you showed on one of your screens where you could go into the contact manager or someplace, and where it says unit 1, unit 2. Yeah,
This page, I believe, is what you're referring to.
right.
Now, it's important to note that you can only select one of these. So you cannot set it to when they see Unit 1 as well as Unit 3. But yes, you could certainly configure this. There's a lot of ways you could accomplish what you want to accomplish, and I think rather than take time here, if you and I can talk about that, I think that might be best.
Okay, like I say, the last few times what I've been doing is just keeping it open for a longer period, just that particular page for that unit. But, you know, I just was wondering if there was an easier way where, you know, I could keep it open or make a, but we can talk at another time.
Yeah, there definitely could be an easier way to do that.
All right, Marie, that was the only question submitted during that time.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask Sarah and Nathan, am I driving? Or do you want to share your screen out there and drive?
Yes, we can share.
Say it again, Nathan.
I will go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Where's the chat? Okay, hello everybody. I'm the new coordinator of assessment. I'm the successor to Dr. Ethan Smiley, starting this year, and I wanted to send to you my contact information in the chat. That's my email address, my extension, if you have a phone network, on-campus phone, and also my direct phone number as well, if you'd like one-on-one assistance from me in working through the new assessment reporting system, which is being rolled out this semester and is effective immediately. And so that means for any of you teaching August intersession courses that end like next week, and I know Kyle, you're in that boat, we'll be asking you to file your report under the new system. And so I'd be happy to help you out. In addition to the time we spend today, I can also help you individually as well, if you are in that boat and have a course that's ending soon, because that means assessment reports will be due then shortly after that. So I'd like to show you an overview. Oh, my sticky note, sorry. I'd like to show you an overview of the assessment reporting system. And let me pull up an example of a course like, say, Math 113, College Algebra. What that'll look like for you is, see, in each InsideNC course, you will be filing an assessment report within that InsideNC course. And so that means if you have multiple sections of Math 113 or multiple sections of Psych 155, you will have to file an outcomes assessment report for each of those sections. You will not be able to merge reports into one like you did with the old form. And so here I am in one particular section of college algebra, and you'll notice, if you could follow my cursor here,
Nathan,
that I have a new tab. I'm not sharing my screen?
You're not sharing your screen with us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so here is this example of a course, Math 113 College Algebra. And as I had mentioned before, you will actually file an assessment report in each of your courses. You will not be able to merge multiple sections of the same course into one report like you could with the old form. So here is, in this example, we have Math 11331. You will see in your course an additional tab on the left side of your screen. One of them is called Assessment. And I'll go ahead and click that. And on the assessment page, you will see a few options here. If you're going to go through the process of preparing and doing the work to get your assessment results ready, that is your student averages, your overall class averages on various outcomes, you will want to link coursework to outcomes first so that you can generate those averages. And so if I go ahead and click on that page, link coursework to outcomes, and again, I'll show you where that was. It's the third item on the assessment page, link coursework to outcomes. You will see up above at the top, you'll see a drop-down box that should have all of your course outcomes listed, and you'll choose an appropriate one, say outcome 1, and then down below, you will have various unit folders. A lot of you organize your coursework by week, so it may say, or it may look like something I have right here. You also may have Unit 1, Unit 2, etc. So I'll go ahead and show or expand these units, and I could go in and select particular coursework items that I may wish to link to that outcome. So for instance, I may choose to link 2 homework assignments from week 1, a quiz, and then also maybe the first exam, which I believe is in week 6. And so I could choose all of those by checking the checkbox next to those items and then save changes down below. It's important that you do save changes after you select coursework that you have linked to a selected outcome up above. And you can also link coursework to other outcomes as well by selecting a different outcome from the drop-down list up above. And so here I have selected outcome 3, and I can go again through my various units and select the coursework that I wish to link to outcome 3. Okay? And so once I've done that, I can save changes. And then one nice thing about that, and I will point that out here in a minute, is when you go into your outcomes assessment report up above, it should have the coursework that you have linked to that outcome listed there, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Notice that I have not mentioned anything about this weight type box yet. I've been linking coursework to a selected outcome using the none option. That option weighs all of your coursework that you've linked equally. Anything that I've checkboxed will have been weighted equally. There is, however, another option for weight type, and that is what's called the custom type. So in the custom type, I may choose, say for outcome 2, I may choose custom. And so what that involves is I can not only link particular coursework, I can also provide a weight that I may wish to assign to those items. For quizzes versus homework assignments, I may wish to give more weight to a quiz versus a homework assignment. So for instance, let's see here, just for the sake of, let's keep this simple. I might want to give that a weight of 75% and this a weight of 25%. Is my numbers lock off? Oh shoot, what's going on here? There we go. And so generally though, I would be selecting a lot more coursework items than just 2. But the idea here is you want your weights to add up to 100. Okay.
If you select the, I'm sorry, may I interject?
Go ahead.
If you select the weighted option and your addition is off, if you have 3 outcomes selected and 1 has nothing in it or null, the system will give you a notification that it must add up to 100 before you can proceed.
Right. Thank you. And so yes, and so you can then select particular coursework assignments by checking the checkbox, providing their weights, and then of course saving changes when you are finished.
And if you do not choose to use the weighted method, the system will average everything equally, like Nathan said originally. I also would like to share with you that if you have a coursework item that you would like to link to more than one outcome, the system will allow for that. So if you have a quiz that you think links to both outcome 1 and outcome 2, you can link it to both outcomes and there will be no problem with that.
Right, and that brings up the subject of partial assignments and linking those. I wanted to pull up an example here. This is a very basic example. I do not do a lot of online test builder assignments. For those of you who create your online tests within InsideNC using the test builder, I do that myself, but they're rather rudimentary because they're preliminary assignments that usually consist of only one section of questions. They're usually very short, basic tests. However, for many of you, you may have created a test builder exam that has multiple sections of questions. And so what are these sections of questions? How are they earmarked or indicated in your coursework? Well, in my preliminary unit in college algebra, there are these coursework assignments that have in front of their name a double caret. Is that a caret? Double caret indicator here to indicate that that is an individual section of questions from that test builder assignment. And so when you see one of these indicators here, the double caret, that indicates you're picking just an individual section from that assignment to link to that outcome. And you will also see that when you're doing rubrics. If you've created a rubric or grading an assignment by rubric, you also have that option to link an individual criterion from that rubric to an outcome, and that will also be indicated by that double caret as well. Anything else you want to say, Sarah, before I move on to step 4? The step 4 method?
I don't think so.
Okay. So what I've discussed thus far is linking, yes?
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. We did have one question about your weighting before you proceed forward.
Okay.
Emily has asked, is the weighting related to the grade book or is it related to the percentage of the outcome?
That's a good question. The weighting that you choose is up to the discretion of the instructor and is independent of the weighting that you may have assigned in the grade book.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense to everyone?
I'm not getting any no's, but if you would like to elaborate, it's always helpful.
So in my particular example, in my course, I have exams worth twice what a quiz is worth, for instance. And so I may choose, if I choose 2 quizzes and an exam to link to outcome 1, I will weight each quiz 25%, and then I'll weight the exam 50%. And that 25, 25, and 50 will add up to 100. In that case, it does reflect my gradebook weighting because in my gradebook, exams are worth twice what a quiz is. However, again, that's up to the discretion of the instructor. And it doesn't have to follow to the letter what the gradebook shows. It's important, though, that those weights do add up to 100.
All right. And then also there's a question that says, if you could please repeat the double carets as to what they represent again.
Sure. So if you have an online test builder assignment, for instance, and you have multiple sections of questions, and in my case, I have very basic ones, but for many of you, you would have multiple ones of these indicated by the double caret that I've highlighted in blue here. You may have, under that first assignment called syllabus and supplement, you might have 4 or 5 different sections of questions all listed underneath here. And so you might have 4 or 5 items listed underneath. That is above course timeline. You may have several of these listed. And so you may choose to link only a particular section of questions by highlighting just that section of questions rather than selecting the entire assignment. If I select this checkbox, I'm linking the entire assignment. However, if I have several sections of questions here, I may choose only to link one individual section of questions instead of the entire assignment. Does that make any sense? Does that clarify things?
I believe it did clarify it. Thank you,
Okay.
Nathan. And that is the conclusion of the questions at this time, so I'll let you proceed forward.
So what I've discussed thus far is the assessment page and going to the link coursework to outcomes method. So again, that's on the assessment tab here in your course. Usually that tab will be located by gradebook, okay? And then going to the link coursework to outcomes page. And that's where you find the drop-down box to select your outcome and then go through your units to select coursework to link to it. Now there is another method to link coursework to outcomes, and that is when you go to the coursework page, you can actually go in, and when you create a new assignment, or if you're editing an existing assignment, you can go in to that assignment, and here's some existing assignments I've created already. Let me move my Zoom page so I can see this. If you go to the edit pencil for an existing assignment, for instance, if I go to edit, there is a new item in the creation process or editing process of a coursework assignment called Step 4. And in Step 4, you will see options here to select an outcome to link to this assignment, or in this case, I have an assignment, let's see here. You have actually two options, to link a partial assignment or to link the entire assignment to that outcome. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So in this case, I have this homework assignment, but it does not have, it's not an online test builder assignment, and it's not graded by rubric, so it doesn't have any partial sections or partial assignments. But in this first drop-down box here, I may choose to link this to outcome 3, for instance, and then I would click Add. And then down below, this assignment is currently linked to the following outcomes. And then it'll list the outcome that you have just added to be linked to that coursework assignment. And then you would save your assignment. And then it should save that outcome linkage to that coursework assignment. You also have the option to delete that as well. If you did that in error or change your mind at some point, you can go ahead and choose to delete. For a partial assignment, let me pull up an example of a partial assignment. Let's see here. This one was created using Online Test Builder. If I go to Step 4, I do have the option to select a section of questions from that assignment in the Assign Partial Assignment drop-down box. Now, I wanted to point out something in particular about this. Notice that you've got a drop-down box up above to select an outcome from. Here's outcomes 1 through 5 that I may wish to link to this assignment. Or down below, I may wish to assign only a section of questions from that assignment. Notice that it says or here. This is a choice of either or. You're either going to select the entire assignment to link to an outcome by choosing from the first drop-down box. So for instance, I may opt to link the entire assignment to outcome 3 and then click Add. Or, let's delete that. Or I may decide to link only a particular section of questions from that assignment to an outcome, say outcome 3, for instance. And I will click Add. And so down below, it will indicate that the following partial assignment has been associated with outcome 3. It'll say here, outcome 3, and it'll indicate section and the section name from that Online Test Builder assignment that you will have linked. Notice up above, it will say there are no outcomes associated with that assignment. Now what that means is that the entire assignment has not been linked. Only a partial one has been linked, which is indicated down below. Okay, is that clear to everyone?
Yes, Nathan. We do have one question though, and I believe it's from Dawn. And
Sure.
she wanted to know if she wants to link a partial assignment, it does need to be created through the test builder into sections. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate. Unfortunately, I don't have an example right now with multiple sections, but yes, that would be correct. If you wanted only a subsection of, say, an exam that you created on Test Builder to be linked, you would, I presume, you would create a test with multiple sections of questions, and then you could choose the appropriate section of questions that you wish to link.
Ethan, I have I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If you wanted to link this assignment to more than one outcome, would you be able to do that on this page as well?
Yes, in fact, good question. Let me go ahead and delete this. Let me start over here. So for instance, if I go to this assignment, I wanted to link it to 2 different outcomes. I could link it to outcome 1 here by clicking add. And then below, it will indicate that the entire assignment's been linked to this outcome, outcome 1. And then also, I may want to link it to outcome 3. And so I could select outcome 3 from the drop-down, click add, and then notice down below that both outcomes 1 and 3 have appeared there and indicate that they are linked.
Right.
Now that was doing the entire assignment. I did not do partials. So I linked the entire assignment here to both outcome 1 and 3. Now if I wanted to go ahead and link the partial, just a section of that test or assignment, I could click add for outcome 1, and then also select outcome 3, click add again, and now I have that partial assignment linked to outcomes 1 and 3.
Excellent.
And notice that here it's asterisked, indicating that I've not saved anything yet. So I will want to save my assignment to save those changes. Okay. Any questions?
I think you're good to go. Thank you.
How are we doing on time here? 12:45?
15 minutes left.
Okay. What I wanted to show you next was looking at assessment results. And I may want to pull up a different course here, which means I'll need to pull up a sticky note. This is a course I taught over the summer. And what I've done is I've linked several assignments to outcomes 1 through 5 in college algebra. And what you'll see on the assessment page, if you go back to the assessment page or tab, you will see outcome means for students and view outcome means for this section. I'm going to go to view outcome means for this section. And you'll notice that after I've linked all my coursework that I wanted to link to different outcomes, I get means for the overall class in each of these outcomes, the overall class averages with zeros, and in the next column without zeros. And then this column, if you want to help me clarify this one, Sarah, as I understand it, any assignment that you have linked but has not been graded yet will be indicated. There may be, say, 2 assignments that have yet to be graded, so there'll be a number 2 present there. Okay. And so then also here in the far right column, you'll have means last updated a date and time. If you are linking any new coursework to an outcome or make some changes and want to see the effect of those changes immediately, you may want to click the Update Outcome Cache button, which will automatically update any changes you've made and will recalculate your means for the class. So you will see a please wait indicator indicating that it has finished making those updates. So the other option that you have is to view outcome means by individual student.
Before you move on, if you also have made changes and you don't necessarily need to see the impact of that change immediately, you don't have to push the Update Outcome Cache button. That will happen automatically on a nightly basis. So the next day you log in, that will all be recalculated for you without you having to push that button. The reason we have that button is if you are looking at your outcomes and you want to see what does this change impact my mean scores right now, that is when you'll have to push that button. But you won't ever have to remember to do that otherwise.
Thank you, Sarah. So I want to move on then to the view outcome means for students. Shoot, I did click on it. Uh-oh. Cover up student names here. What I have here are 4 students in a class. The top number in italics is the overall class average, and then down below are the 4 individual students and their individual averages for outcomes 1 through 5. And so you do have the option to look at results by individual student and also for the class overall. And so again, if I want to view results by individual student, I would choose this option here, view outcome means for students. If I want to look at the overall class averages for each outcome, I would turn to this here, view outcome means for this section. So I've gone over looking at the results. Now let's talk about filing the report.
Before we do that,
Okay.
I don't want you to show anything necessarily, but I do want to make the point of the fact that the students can see their scores as well. So Nathan had to quickly hide the student names in the previous screen because of FERPA regulations, but you can look at that in your classes and you can have every student listed and their score. From the student's point of view, they also can go to an assessment tab and look at each outcome and which coursework items have been linked to that outcome and their score and their average. That's visible to the students. So it'll be important, that's a new thing that'll be visible to the students, and it's important for them to understand the difference between their course grade and their assessment for outcome scores. So it's important that you'll share that information with the students, and as you move through, you may be making changes as the course goes along, and what their score for outcome 1 is on day 12, it may be different than their outcome score later in the semester. So it'll be important for you to understand that the students can see their scores in addition to communicating with them what those scores mean.
Yes, communication is a good thing with your students. So let's move on then to outcomes assessment report. And so this is the link you would go to file your report with me, the coordinator of assessment. Yes.
I'm going to stop you just for a second because we did have several questions there, so I was hoping to touch on those. The first one is from Sandy, and she wants to know, are the outcomes to be configured every week? Or it says with each week's coursework.
Are they to be configured? Am I requiring them to be configured weekly like we do? We'd like to have grades per week. No, that is not a requirement. You can work on your assessments at any point during the semester. You can work on configuring those at any point in the semester. I will get up on my soapbox for just a moment and say that if to make the best impact to student learning means to be assessing that stuff along the way, but some instructors prefer to use a final exam for their assessment purposes, and that's totally, again, up to the instructor. But there is no requirement that you configure or update those scores throughout the semester or time period for the class. The only requirement that remains is that that report is completed by the same date that it always has been required to be completed by, the 2 business days after the end of that course.
Okay, thank you for that one.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is, let's see, how could you touch, Nathan, a little bit? I saw the with zeros and without zeros column, but Catherine asked, how does this new assessment calculate when a student or students do not complete an assignment linked to a specific outcome?
If they do not complete it,
so I think she's referring to a student that receives a 0 because it will drop the mean score.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons why we have both columns visible to the instructors. For a long time, people who were filing their assessment reports were also wanting to say, well, I chose to use this coursework assignment to evaluate outcome 1, but this coursework assignment wasn't completed by 3/4 of my class or 1/3 of my class or whatever. And so there were many zeros that will have impacted my mean score. And so that information is being taken into consideration because we have a mean with zeros and a mean without. Some folks will argue that if a student didn't do it, then how can we use that information to understand how our class is learning or being successful at that outcome? Other folks would argue that the fact that they didn't do it is also good information about how students are learning in your class. So in an effort to provide both types of information to all of our instructors, we created the means with zeros and means without zeros. Both will be presented in the report at the end of the semester or term or wherever, however long your course is.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
There is one
Any
last
other questions?
there is one more, and it's from Ted, and he would like to know, are students able to see the class average for a specific outcome, or is it just their individual outcome or assessment?
I believe it's their individual outcome. I don't believe they have the ability at this time to view average for the class. But the instructor does, and the instructor can share that information if they choose to.
All right, thank you. That is the last question.
Okay, any other questions before we move on?
I believe that is it at the moment.
Okay, so let's move on to the actual creation of the, the filing of the outcomes assessment report. If you look at your outcomes assessment report page, you'll notice a drop down at the top, which includes what's called a section report and also a report for the individual course outcomes. And so in the section report, what this contains is, and I may want to actually pull up my other class, excuse me, let me go back to my other class here. If I select section report, what that'll show is down below, it'll include items like pre-test, post-test, percent, what if any changes were made in previous semesters that affected student learning, what additional resources are needed to improve student learning for the course, any significant circumstances that impacted the mean, recommendations do you have for modality and scheduling, things that you've seen on the old form. And these are general questions applying not to any specific outcome in the course, but to the course overall, okay? And you'll notice that they auto-populate the number of students included in that class. And so you are not required to fill in all these fields, but certainly you are is encouraged and recommended that you do, but if there's something that's not applicable, you can leave that blank. Yes, you would fill out this section report, and then down below, I've got this thing in my way I can't see. There is a save changes or save button there at the bottom that you can click to save those changes. And so let's move on to these other reports. Now these are reports for individual outcomes in the course. So if I select outcome 1, what that'll show are, now I have not linked anything to outcome 1, but it should show an actual mean and actual mean excluding zeros, and it'll also list for you all of the coursework that you will have linked to that outcome. In fact, I could show you an example of that using my other course here. Let's see here, bear with me just a moment. So for instance, this one, I've already filed this for the summer, so it's warning me that it's been finalized. But you'll see that I have a target mean of 70 and an actual score of 91% in the class, and that these are these coursework assignments that I had linked to that outcome 1. And so the nice thing about this is if you go through the link coursework to outcomes page on the assessment page, or if you go through step 4, when you edit a coursework assignment, you're linking all these things, and you start losing track of what you've linked to an outcome, you can always go to your outcomes assessment report, go to the report for that outcome, and then go look in the field called linked coursework assignments, and you can see what you've linked. So that's one thing you could do to kind of get a one-page look at what you've linked to an outcome. And so once you, let's see here. Oh, down below, this narrative field has already disappeared because I've entered something, but you will see a large box, and let me go ahead and pull up that other course here to show you what I'm talking about. In the individual outcomes report, you will see a narrative text field that will ask you to comment on the results. And so this could include things like, here's what I could have improved to help improve the student average on that outcome. Here are some mitigating circumstances that may have affected the mean. Just, a detailed discussion of the results, suggestions on how to improve results for the future, things like that. And so that narrative field is required if you were to try to save or finalize this outcome report, it won't do that if you haven't entered anything in the narrative field. That is right, Sarah? That fair narrative field must be.
There must be text.
Must be text there.
In order to be finalized.
Right. And so then up above, once you have saved your changes, you could continue to the next outcome. This is outcome 2. You could fill out your narrative and whatnot and save and continue to next. This is outcome 3's report. I could put my narrative in here, save and continue to next, and so on. And then once I've done all my outcome reports, I will then go through and finalize. Once I'm satisfied with all of my additions or changes, I can finalize each of those reports, okay, by clicking the Finalize This Outcome button. And so this is how the process will work. When you're filing your assessment report, what you will do is you can edit your section report and save. You can go through your outcome reports and save your changes. And then what you'll do is you'll want to finalize the outcome reports first. So you'll go through each outcome report and finalize them individually. And then finally, last but not least, you will go to the section report at the top. You'll go to the section report, and then the Finalize Report button is the button that will submit the entire report to me. And so that's the final button you will click to finalize your report for that class. It'll be the Finalize Report button in the section report. Any questions on that?
Nathan, there is one question. Dawn asked, can or do you, I guess, is it okay for instructors to do the report throughout the semester, or should we wait at the end to do this specific part of it?
Yes, it is designed for you to work on it progressively as the semester rolls on. So absolutely, you can do that.
Okay, and then also she wants to know, could she get a printed copy of her final report? Is that an option?
Oh, that's a good question.
At this time, the only availability for that would be to print screen out of the InsideNC window. But just like all of your courses, this information will be available to you in InsideNC after the semester is completed. If you go into the faculty tab and access past or previous courses, I can't remember what the language there is, but you can look at your current courses, your future courses, and previous or past courses. And then you can pull up the assessment page and see that right there. Otherwise, I don't have built into the system an export report button.
Okay.
So one thing I wanted to mention is if you were to do your outcome reports, I have outcomes 1 through 5. If I was to save, but I did not finalize, I would be unable to finalize the report if I go to section report and finalize report, it'll give me a red flag or a warning at the top indicating that I've not finalized all of my outcomes yet. And so you must finalize all of your outcome reports before you can finalize the report in section report. Is that clear? Hope so. All right. And so then if you have questions on whether it's been finalized or not, on the assessment page itself, go back to the assessment, excuse me, if you go to Outcomes Assessment Report page, it should list for you whether you've started your reports, if they're in progress, and whether they've been finalized. And so if you've turned in everything, every column or every row here should say finalized, and it'll have a date. And so if you've turned everything in, it should all say finalized and all have a date here. Okay. Yes, go ahead, sir.
If you inadvertently finalize something that you realize later that you should not have, we do have the ability to unfinalize that for you. You will need to contact Nathan in order for him to work through that process.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'm sorry I've gone 2 minutes over.
That's great. We do have one another question, and I believe it's Laura that asked if it can be exported at all, the report.
I don't believe we have the capability as of yet, do we?
We do not have an export function, no, but you will always be able to access it in your previous courses. I don't have a lot of experience in printing the screen. Marie might want to chime in here.
I was just going to mention we did not build in a print or an export to the report, but on InsideNC you do have a print button at the top right. I personally have not tried printing the report, but that might be an option. And once you do that, you might be able to print to PDF. Again, I haven't tested that yet.
Okay.
Thank you, Marie.
We'll give that a thought.
Any last questions?
Ted just commented, there is no reason, is there, to click the finalized report before the course is completed for the semester or term, correct?
I would presume you finalize the report after the course has concluded. Yes, I see no reason why you would do that prior to the course ending. Would you, Sarah?
Well, there's also no reason not to, in the same tone. If you have completed the assessment of outcome 1 and you would like to finalize outcome 1, you can certainly do that, but you can't finalize the report until all of those outcomes are completed and finalized. So for outcome 1, if you are done and you have utilized all of your assessment of student learning activities and all of that is complete for outcome 1, you can finalize that report. And that'll be listed with the dates on there. But for the finalization of the complete report wouldn't happen until all of those outcomes are assessed. So if you have assessed all of those outcomes prior to the end of the course, you have the ability to finalize that at this time. That is up to you as the instructor, depending upon how you assess the outcomes of your course.
Okay, and just to reiterate on that one, Sarah, if they hit finalize though, they would have to contact Nathan at that point to make changes?
Yes.
That's accurate.
Okay, so it may be safe, at least for the first go around, to hold off on that just till the very end, just to make sure that we do it correctly the first time.
Right. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay, very good.
I do have a question. Kind of a specific question, though. I don't know if you can answer it or not right now, but like on a paper test that has, like, say, 3 outcomes being covered, how do I'm not sure how I'm going to be entering that into the system, because I would only enter it as one coursework item. So how do I do that?
Well, I've come up with a system that my guiding principle is to keep it simple and transparent to students. Simple and transparent. And this is what I've done. I could pull up a past example. Take, for instance, this summer course of statistics. If I go to my coursework, what I've done for a paper pencil exam is, for instance, I have an exam that I've linked to 2 different outcomes. This is exam 2, which covers chapters 4 and 5, which are tied to different outcomes and stats. And so I had to subdivide that into 2 parts. Okay. And so I'll have this, you know, the students can see this, and so they may have questions on this, and so it would be important to communicate that to students if you were to make such a.
And then, but do you enter the grade as 2 separate grades then for the exam, or 1 grade for the whole exam?
I do separate grades for part 1 and for part 2.
So you can't enter, I mean, I understand what you're doing there, but can you
I can enter
1 grade for the exam?
Okay, for instance, if I have 1 exam and I enter 1 grade, well, here's the thing. With this exam, for instance, I have 15 questions related, or let me look here. I have 29 questions actually related to outcome 2, I believe. And, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. And then also in part 2, I think I have 13 questions related to a different outcome. And so they have scores out of 29 points for part 1 and out of 13 points for part 2. And so the scores are different.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm just kind of trying to say how I've always done my testing has been a test, you know, like give 5 tests throughout the semester, and they're all covering different outcomes, and just they enter, then I enter the, you know, the test score for each exam, and the exams count, say, 75% of the course grade.
Okay.
Now I'm going to have to separate every exam into separate parts for each outcome and give a separate grade for every part of the exam.
It depends if you want to link every section to different outcomes. Also, if it are these test builder assignments or not?
No,
He's talking about
no.
The paper pencil.
James, if I could, and Nathan, if I could interject, Nathan is finalizing a document as a guide that gives screenshots and suggestions to build the assessment system. In that guide, there will be some suggestions on how to transfer paper pencil tests to the assessment system, utilizing perhaps the example that Nathan has suggested here. In addition to that, we could also suggest some opportunities that we have with rubrics, graded exams. You could maybe transmit that to a rubric graded assignment and have different criterion of the rubric associated with different questions of the test. There will be some transition in the case of a paper and pencil test to this system, but we will have some kind of simple opportunities to express various ways that you could transition that data into our new assessment reporting system. That's one of the things that it will be important, I think, for you to have some one-on-one time with Nathan and or Marie and I, so that we can help you through that process. But we do have some kind of simplified guides to transmit that to either a test builder or a rubric. So that's to be coming soon, that guide document.
Yes, it is nearing completion. So Jim, you're aware of the option to grade by rubric, right? In the edit.
Yeah, I haven't done that before.
Okay. So for instance, if I go to an exam that's paper pencil, I usually don't do the rubric option, but you do have under the grading drop box, there is the option to grade by rubric for that exam. If you select it, you could set up criterion, or if you want to call them sections of an exam, and assign them point values. You can certainly do that. And then what those will show up as, when you link coursework outcomes, they'll show up as partial assignments or partial tests, indicated by the double caret character, indicating that that is a partial assignment.
Nathan, I'm going to jump in for just a second.
Go ahead.
We do have a video from the online campus that shows you how to create a rubric and configure that. It's not specific to assessment, but we do have a video if you haven't worked with rubrics yet, and that's an area that you're interested in. I also have one pulled up if we want to take the time to show it now, but I am aware that we're over time, so.
Well, honestly, I just like to do as little work as I can on it, so I don't want to create a lot of new work for myself on doing these things. So I'm just trying to get out of the way of, you know, working with how I've always done my courses with this new system, and to make it as easy as possible for myself.
Well, I think in a lot of respects, it makes it easier than the old form that we were using. And it does a lot of the calculations for you. It does all of the calculations for you, for that matter, as far as class averages and whatnot. I could see that with a final exam, if it's comprehensive and it covers all the outcomes, I could see that being an issue for you, Jim, if you have a lot of outcomes covered by the final. I didn't find it so much of a problem. I give a lot of paper pencil exams, and for the most part, I didn't find it to be a big issue. But with the final, I mean, I could work with you on this. I'd be happy to work with you one-on-one on a method that could work for best for you and for the college.
Okay.
Okay, Nathan. So as Marie said, we are over time. Is there any lasting thoughts or anything specifically that you would like to show us with assessments?
Can you think of anything else?
No, I would like to end though with the fact that we do have already scheduled some sessions throughout the semester for one-on-one lab time. We'll be scheduling, we have scheduled a time in Chanute in the virtual environment and on the Ottawa campus, sessions in week 2 of the semester, week 7 of the semester, I believe, and the week we come back after Thanksgiving. So as you're working through this as an instructor, we'll have plenty of opportunities for you to touch base with us and answer questions that may have come up.
Okay, well,
Otherwise,
Marie, is there anything you would like to add?
Only that it doesn't look like I'm going to get the link before the end of this meeting. Someone was asking for the link for the rubric video. So it is also going to be posted, if it's not already, on InsideNC. So I can send that out. There's a couple people that asked for it.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you to our presenters, and I want to thank everybody for attending this Lunch Bite session, and I welcome you back next month for our Lunch Bite section and possibly even a Tech Nights session. So just check your email and let us know if you have any questions between now and then.